lasers were being done more in the beauty parlors. It was not done in the clinics per se. So we were always thinking that Banjara Hills will do much better than the other clinics. And this was true till 2014 or 15. A lot of people who were doing these lasers were not even trained on the lasers.
Hello and welcome to Startup Story Spotlight. This is your host Lata and we are in conversation today with the founder of Oliva Clinics. Oliva is India's leading chain of skin and hair clinics with over 24 clinics and presence in over 8 major cities of India. It has been awarded numerous awards for its contribution to the medico-aesthetic space of India. It was founded by Dr. Prashant Soma in 2009, who is a dermatologist himself, by the way, along with his MBA brother. And there's definitely a story behind how it was started. So we'll hear from the man himself, Dr. Prashant. Thank you so much, Dr. Prashant, for joining this conversation. Let us start by understanding your background first. You started Oliva Clinics in 2009, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
So tell us a bit about what you've done before that. What did you do? What were you doing? And then how the idea of starting this clinic chain came to your mind.
Okay. So then you have to let me go back 2 decades. So I finished my dermatology in 2002 from a sleepy town, that's Manipal, which is there on the Karnataka-Kerala border. That's where I finished my MD in dermatology. Post that, I went to Singapore for a fellowship in lasers in dermatology. So I was there for a couple of months, and one of the best institutes in the world, if I can say so, it's called as National Skin Center. It's a very good center, where they had an outpatient department of 1,200 patients per day for dermatology alone. Only for dermatology, they had 1,200 patients, and they had 25 dermatology consultants working under one roof. So that is where I did my fellowship in lasers, and that is when I knew that so many things could be done with laser in dermatology. So post the training, I came back to Hyderabad, which is my hometown. I joined a medical college as a faculty. So I was a teacher actually. So I joined as an assistant professor. I had my own private practice in the evening. And this went on for a couple of years. And initially I started off with my practice, and I still vividly remember the first month I had my practice, I saw 4 patients in the entire month. Entire month I saw 4 patients. Then within 3 years, the clinic had become so busy that people had to wait for 1.5 an hour to get my appointment. And this happened for a couple of years. So I was teaching in the morning, I was practicing in the evening. But somewhere I think the journey got a little boring for me. I belong to a family of business people. So I think just sitting in the clinic every day doing the same thing on and on was not my cup of tea, is what I understood after a couple of years. So I went to my family, which was into business, and told them about the idea of starting a chain of dermatology clinics in India. And the seed for this, as I said, was there in Singapore, because I knew there could be a lot of things that can be done in dermatology with the lasers. And way back in 2009, you did not have too many dermatologists in India who were doing the lasers at that moment of time. So the family found the idea interesting. So along with my brother, who was an MBA person, I was a medical person. So really, did I know what is finance about? The answer is no. So I took my brother along, both of us together. We started this business in 2009. And I was looking into the medical aspect. He was looking into the finance aspect. We had great ideas how to do the business and everything. And all those ideas crashed within 24 days after opening the clinics. Just 24 days. And you would be thinking, what happened? So November 15th, 2009, we started the clinics. December 9th, the government of India said they're going to form a separate state of Telangana. And Hyderabad was the prize for both Telangana and Andhra. They were fighting over Hyderabad. Entire market in Hyderabad collapsed. And this was the time when we entered the market in this particular space. So it was a real tough first 18 months for us. But then we were able to stabilize operations and then we started growing. So post that, in 2014, we got private equity. And then after the private equity, it has been a solid journey, spreading the wings across different cities in the country. So right now we have 25 centers across 8 cities in the country currently. And the focus has always been, Lata, on the dermatology services. See, because as a dermatologist, what I was seeing way back in 2009, lasers were being done more in the beauty parlors. It was not done in the clinics per se. It was done in the beauty parlors. A lot of people who were doing these lasers were not even trained on the lasers. So the idea was, can we train dermatologists well to do the lasers so that the clients can be given the best possible result? So that was the background with which we started Oliva. Even today, that is the main thing that we have as our forte. If you ask me what is our main difference with a lot of other people in the market, it's the in-house training that we do for dermatologists. Just to give you an idea, generally people train dermatologists post their MD when they recruit somebody for their clinics. The training, a lot of other clinics is usually for 5 to 10 days. That's more like an induction training, 5 to 10 days. At Oliva, the same training is for 2 months. For 2 months we train. Now that takes a huge amount of cost for doing all that. But we take it up so that basically the idea is to give the best possible result to the client.
I'll go on to talk about the industry that you're in, which is Medico-Aesthetics industry, right? This has definitely evolved over the last decade, right? A lot in India as well. Tell us about how the journey, how this industry was previously when you just started, and where is this leading to in the future?
So 2009, when we started this in Hyderabad, I think we were at the rock bottom in India in this particular industry. But the last 15 years, I think the growth has been in double digits all through the time. I think we have been growing, other than the COVID time, definitely that time the growth was not happening, but otherwise we were growing easily at the rate of 20-25% year on year. And there is still a lot of, there's a lot of, we need to go a long way still, because there's a lot of gaps still that has to be covered. I'll just give you one interesting tidbit of information, and this is a little back in time. I'm talking about 2017-18, that period of time. In 2017 or 18, the number of laser machines in dermatology in Bangkok city were more than the number of machines in entire India. So one city of Bangkok had more number of machines than entire India. You can understand the penetration that has to be going forward, what level of penetration. So if somebody says that, okay, things have become quite well penetrated now, I still smile, because I know that by the time we have to go to the Bangkok city level, it will be another 20 years for us.
That's the milestone that you definitely always have in mind.
And I also tell you one more thing. There's another thing that the level of clinics, the way the size and all is going to change is also going to be different in the country in the next couple of years. In 2016, I had a chance to visit a chain in Hong Kong. It's called as Neoderm. So somebody told me it is one of the biggest clinics in the world. I said, and Hong Kong, is one of the prime real estate in the world. It's very expensive real estate. So I went to visit this clinic, and there was somebody who took me around. The reception area I knew was twice the size of Oliva Clinic. The reception area alone, it was 5,000 square feet was the reception area.
Wow.
And then they took me around the entire clinic. So they had close to 100 procedure rooms on that floor. And the space was around 22,000 square feet. I said, wow, this is one of the biggest clinics I saw. Then I said, is this it, or is there any other area in this clinic? They said, no, doc, you have to see one more floor. So they took me to one floor down. Again, another 22,000 square feet. Then I was smiling, and then I asked them, don't tell me there's another floor. They said, yes, doc, there's another floor, please. Then they took it to 2 more floors. So the entire clinic was 87,000 square feet. Dermatology clinic. And they had around 400 procedure rooms in that entire clinic put together. And they had 2 other clinics, not so big, but almost 60-70% this size in Hong Kong. Now, this will tell you what India will become 20 years if that Amrit Kal period, like Mr. Modi keeps on saying, the Prime Minister keeps on saying, happens, and everybody hopes it will happen. This is the sort of things that will happen in India over the next 25 years. So it's going to be a continuous growth for the next 2.5 decades. And I think the things are going to become more and more sophisticated. Because the thing is, there's a lot of things that a dermatologist can do to help a client. It's not only about technology. See, a lot of people see today what's happening is a lot of things have become service industry today. So the need to look good and the need to be confident has become very important. And that is something I think the latest technology and a good medical doctor, a combination of both of this, can definitely deliver.
Understood. And besides, the need to look confident, the first impression, besides all these, what are the other driving factors that have led to, evolving further of this industry that we see now and that we're going to see in the future?
The reason why this thing will go up, Lata, is basically, the market for these services was always there. So what are the type of services that we generally treat in the clinics? One is your acne, that is your pimples. That's one of the common thing that we treat. The other thing that we treat commonly is hair loss. The third one is the pigmentation problems, different pigmentation issues. Now these issues have been there from a long time. So the market has always been there for these things. But earlier what used to happen is that there was a limitation as to the number of treatments you could do for these ailments. But now you can do much better. So actually when we use the word medico-aesthetic, aesthetic is 50% of what we do. But 50% is also medical in nature. Because just imagine, I'll give you some examples. There could be a teenager who's 21, 22 years old who had severe acne as a child and has a lot of scars on the face, which can disfigure a person. We can treat those sort of problems also and give almost 70 to 80% result in those people. So what we do, it has an aesthetic element, but it is not like all beauty for us. There's a medical angle to what we do. So we try to treat the problem. Actually, beauty is a byproduct. It's not for beauty we actually try to do it. Beauty is a byproduct of what we generally do. But we try to treat the problem that the client has. So normally at Oliva, at least we don't say that, okay, you come to us, we'll make you more beautiful. That's generally not the way we say. You have a problem, we'll treat your problem. That's the way we will tell. Whether it is acne, whether it is pigmentation, whether it is scar, whether it is hair loss, you have a problem, we will treat you.
And if I can take a step ahead and ask you, where are the major areas where you're getting these interests from, especially in India? What are the cities? Are you getting interest from tier 2 cities as well, tier 3 cities as well? Even below that, what do you think is the demography of your customers?
So I'll give you the example. This one, I don't know whether you had been in Hyderabad anytime earlier. Have you been to Hyderabad anytime?
Yeah, just once, but I was definitely, I couldn't explore the city.
Okay. So in 2009, we basically opened 3 clinics in Hyderabad simultaneously. One is in a place called Banjara Hills, which is like your, not Kolaba, South Mumbai. That sort of a thing.
Yeah.
And there were 2 other clinics which we opened in areas called as Secunderabad and Kukatpalli, where these are conservative areas with middle to upper middle, not your high-end HNI customers.
Okay.
So we were always thinking that Banjara Hills will do much better than the other clinics. And this was true till 2014 or 15. Wow. Banjara Hills was, I think, more than double the size of the other clinics, the way it was going. But right now, in 2023, all the clinics are on the same level.
That is very interesting what you've achieved.
No, it has to do with the market. So what we have seen today is there is not much difference between different areas in the same city and also between differing cities. So when we went to Chennai, a lot of people said it's a conservative city, you may not get the clients for these services and all. But our experience has been different. The same level of enthusiasm that we had for clinics here in Hyderabad and Bangalore, we see the same thing in Chennai. We see the same thing in Kochi, we see the same thing in Vizag. That interest levels to get these things done, I think today is almost similar. And I'll give you one more interesting this one. When we started off, 80% of our clients were female. But today it is only 55. 45% of the people who walk into our clinic are male. So it is not, again for male, it is not like they come for a beauty thing or something. They usually come for hair loss, scar treatments, and these sort of things. So the reason why they come may be different, but a lot of males also have started doing all these treatments now. Because what has happened today, I think, is the awareness is better, that you have different treatments there in the market which can make the problem go. And that's what people are looking up to for our sort of clinics.
Agreed. Awareness and the fact that people have become more open to exploring the options, and they're not narrow-minded anymore. They're open to exploring what can they do to boost their confidence, to make their first impression look better, to do anything that they want to, and I'm sure that has worked for you. But just following up on that very quickly, and then we'll go to other questions as well. You've been successfully able to be the top one choice for the customers, starting from Hyderabad, then number one choice in Bangalore, and then Chennai. What is your strategy that you go with, and how are you able to lead your business in any city that you venture out in?
Okay. So again, Oliva has always believed in making sure the quality of the output is pretty good, the service quality is good. That has been always our focus. Because what we felt internally, and that is true even today, advertising can help you for the first 2-3 years in getting your clients. But after that, it's the word of mouth that should make the business grow. That's the most important thing. And for that, you have to make sure the quality is good. So when we get into a market, it's usually a 360-degree sort of an advertising window. So it's an outdoor sort of a marketing. We take use of the print media, the digital media, Instagram. So it's almost like a 360-degree sort of a marketing window. But this is generally done for only the first 2 years when we are in a city. Once that is there, generally we have seen that today, if you see in Hyderabad and other cities that where we have clinics for a long period of time, almost 50 to 60% of our walk-ins are word of mouth. So then the focus on advertising comes down pretty sharply. And after that, it's just, you still have to do a little bit advertising, but it is just to make sure the clients know that you're still there. Mm-hmm. But over a period of time, we try to make sure the word of mouth is what is driving the business rather than advertising alone. And generally, the focus is more on the digital marketing, because 90% of the people who walk into an Oliva clinic are below the age of 35. And these are usually digitally conscious. So most of the marketing is skewed towards the digital media.
Makes sense. Of course, that age group definitely makes sense, and I'm sure you'll get a lot of customers going forward, since we are on the path to become the youngest population. I think we already are. I think that will just add to your business. So happy to know that. But Prashant, let's come back to business. The recent acquisition of Oliva Clinic by Kedara Capital, that is definitely a milestone, I'm sure, and I would love for you to talk a bit about it. What does that mean for your business? Shed us some light into that.
So basically, Kedara is the Series B funding for Oliva technically. So we had a Series A funding for Oliva way back in 2014. So, and as you know, private equity funds usually have a cycle of 5 to 6 years when they want to exit businesses. So that happened a little late in our case because COVID came in. Otherwise, they should have exited in 2020. So Kedara, why Kedara this one? Because for any business to grow, it is not only about the funds that you get from a private equity fund. It's also what, in addition to the funds, the fund can get into the business. Kedara in that way has a lot of strength, whether in the form of their financial understanding, their technology team.
Okay.
So they have a good IT head within their company. So they have a good IT head, they have a HR person in their company, they have a finance person. So what Oliva is lucky to have them, I would say Oliva is lucky to have them because in addition to the finance which any private equity fund can give, it's the value add that Kedara gets to the table on things like finance, IT, as well as HR, especially IT. The reason why I'm specifically saying IT so much is as a medically driven company, we are good in medicine. But are we good on the IT systems? I'm a professional doctor. I don't understand IT as well as what my son understands, who's 18 years old. I don't even understand the way he understands IT. And even in the organization DNA, it is basically medicine, medicine, medicine. So the technology part is always on the back front. But with Kedara coming in, see again, end of the day, it's going to be medicine. The delivery has to be medicine. But can you use the technology to give a better delivery to the client? That is going to be the key. And we feel it can be done. So internally now we are embarking on a lot of things to make sure the technology helps us in better delivery of services to the client. And I think 4 to 5 years down the line, the way Oliva functions today to what it will be 5 years down the line, I think it's going to be a totally different story. That's the way I look at it.
Since we're talking about clear distinction of responsibilities, and this is a very personal question, you can choose to answer or not. You're working with your brother, right? That's you started with him. India somehow India has a history where we see all sorts of things happening in family, especially between two brothers. It just has not worked out a lot between two brothers. Of course, we have some other stories as well, but it's a common thing that we see around us. But you guys have quite worked it out for sure, and you're here. I'm sure this is because you know what responsibilities he has, what you have, and the chemistry between. Talk to us about that chemistry between you and your brother that has led to this place that you're in right now.
So looks like the Ambani brothers have basically given not a very good example for brothers working together. Okay. But to answer that, I think basically it is because, see, my brother and me, we were only 18 months apart. So we were more like friends rather than brother in this one, though we used to have a good share of fights and all. So that was also there. But once we started this, see, the reason why this went well, because what was my strength, he could not do. What was his strength, I could not do. So it was very complementary. I was a medical professional, he was a finance professional. So it was very, very complementary. So things went pretty smoothly. But yes, now he's not there in the company, this one. So in 2016, he said, okay, the company has come to one level. Now you manage the entire thing. So let me get into things that I really love. And he went into infrastructure space in 2016. So right now, I look into everything.
That is quite interesting. That he quietly exited and then he went on to do what he wanted to do. Tells a lot about the kind of relationship you've developed over the years. I'm sure people can learn a lot from there. And since we're talking about entrepreneurship, many aspiring entrepreneurs look up to other entrepreneurs who've made their position in this market. what advice as an entrepreneur would you like to give to anybody who wants to begin their venture, who are already in their venture? What advice would you like to give it?
I think my experience is basically when somebody wants to start a business, they should try to see what gap is there in the market at that moment of time and what are they trying to fulfill. I think that clarity should be there in any person's mind. Are you trying to fill in a gap where the others are not this one? And what is that you can get differently to the table that others can't do? I think that's going to be a thing that you have to answer in your own mind. That's number one. Number two, based in my experience, generally, when you want to build up a business, I think you should try to first build up a good team that can stick with you and that is capable. Today, building up a business is never going to be a one-man story. One man could be there in the front, but there is a team that is helping in the back. Building that team is going to be very, very important. The third thing is, you can have your best ideas, but things will not go smoothly the way you think it will happen. Always you're going to have ups and downs. If it is more ups, then fine. But downs is going to be there. Whether it is going to be a part of it or it's going to be a significant part, it's going to be there. You should be able to foresee what are the problems that can come, and you should have your plan B in place. That also is going to be important. You can have the most optimistic guy in the world you could be, but you should also know what can go wrong. And if those things go wrong, how are you going to tackle it? And make sure you have enough money in the bank all the time. Especially COVID has taught it to a lot of businesses. Don't over leverage. Make sure the balance is there in the bank all the time for that day when you really have to put your money hand there and take it out. That's also going to be important. I think these are the 3-4 things that come to the top of the mind.
Understood. And
yes, one more thing, just one more point. If any business owner is there, it's very likely 90% of the people will basically definitely face a lot of pressures. There's definitely no doubt about it. There will be a lot of pressures. But it is very important for the person who's leading that he absorbs most of the pressure. He should not give it to the team as much as possible. The pressure should stop at him. He should make sure the other people have a comfortable working in this one so that they can work, because pressure doesn't make people work well. So this guy should absorb the pressure, but make sure these people don't feel and they're properly motivated. I think that's also going to be important.
That's actually a very nice point that you mentioned. And trust me, out of all the interviews that I've done, there's something that always comes up, and that point is always about their team. So, and I've said this before, anybody who talks about their team, they're definitely, the one with a vision. Because like you said, you can't walk alone in this world today. You need to have a great team. So invest fairly in it. That's definitely a given. Very well agreed with that. Beyond India, do you see a potential for Oliva, out there in the market beyond India? And I think we missed one more question, which was what is your milestone in the next 5-10 years? So if you can take that up as well in the same question.
Okay, so I'll give you a 2 years milestone and then I'll give you a 5 years milestone. So it took us 15 years to come from 1 to 25 now. But from 25 to 50, I think we will do it in less than 2 years. That's going to be this one. And 5 years from now, I think the way I'm looking at Oliva is we should be there in every single metro in the country and quite a lot of district headquarters. Okay. And Oliva would also be definitely present in a lot of places in the Middle East. That's your international business, because I feel the Middle East is a good place to go and open these sort of clinics, and there's a good market for these services in the Middle East. And because you have a lot of expat Indian population also there, it makes the things much more easier. Whether it's staff or whether it's the clientele, it makes things easier. So the Middle East is definitely a good market to get into. Once we crack Middle East, and then we would be looking at other countries. But first, it's going to be Middle East.
This feels so different when I hear that the first one that you'll be going for is Middle East and not the Western countries anymore. I'm sure they have this market very saturated. But the fact that we're talking about the other parts of the world now more than ever feels great to hear that.
So the Western thing, as you rightly said, is pretty saturated, and it's more than the saturation. There's a lot of other regulations that are a little tough to this one, Lata. So that regulations are, sometimes it can hinder the business. So, but yes, once we get into Middle East, I think there is that sort of a probability that we will definitely look at other things. But the most important thing is, I think India itself will absorb so many clinics in the future, so much activity will happen in India. See, this is, I told you 5 years, but the 5 to 10 year story will not happen in any of the cities in India for Oliva. It's going to be only the districts. The first 5 years is about the cities. The next 5 years is going to be only about the districts. Every district headquarter in this country can take an Oliva clinic. I'm sure of that. And that's going to happen also, because the potential in these towns is going up so high. And today what is happening is people have got exposed to everything. I mean, a lot of times earlier, a person sitting in Calcutta would be thinking differently from a person looking at sitting in Kerala. But today almost everybody feels and thinks about the things in the same way. And people have got exposed because of so much of downloading of internet and other things. I think the way youngsters are looking at things is vastly different. And I see that in my son. The way he looks at things is so different from the way I would have been looking as an 18-year-old kid. So I think that is what is going to drive business in the districts in the foreseeable future. And actually Middle East is because, yes, we have to open because they said this one, but I think India is where the action is going to be for the next 10 years. That's for sure.
I am 100% on that. That definitely the vote is definitely for India, 100%. But you mentioned you have a son. I'm sure he's in the same category as Gen Z or millennials, right? So
Yes.
how is it? You come from a very different generation, of course, right? Give us some. We'd love to just get some insights into the world of parenting for you. You run a very successful business. You come from a very different generation. Then there's a very different generation that have altogether different stories, different future plans, different career dreams, right? How does that relationship blend in with your son? What do you do with him?
My brother keeps telling me, I think we are the last generation where we were, or the only generation where we are afraid of our parents as well as our children. But my son doesn't let me do that. But what I think is different from the way the relations with, if I see my relation with my parent to how my relation is with my son, I think earlier the relation was more, okay, the father says something, you listen, that's it. But now I think the relation with the son is more like a friend, a senior friend, but it's still a friend. I think that's the difference that has come up in the last, this one. I think children today, maybe they want somebody to advise, but not exactly to order. And that's, if you really ask me, nothing wrong in that, because I think when I look at the kids today, it's not only my son, when I look at kids today, I think the levels of maturity in the youngsters is far higher than what at least I used to have as a kid that. So I think what is going to be more important is for the parents basically to just understand what their children want and try to support them in their dreams. And most important is they say, okay, children don't listen and all, but I don't really believe in that. If the parents are somebody who basically respect others and they do things properly, the children will absorb the same. Children are like a reflection of parents in a way. So if the parents are in the right way, then the children also most probably, again, you'll have exceptions, always are there. But if the children are the parents are in the right track, children also will go in the right track. Maybe the way they will go, the way they will dress may be a little different. But end of the day, I think it's the parents who are more important for the children. I think they have to be the perfect role models for the children.
Fair. That's a good advice. And, I think out of all the things that you've mentioned, what Gen Zs or millennials probably do these days or how they think, one more to add to that is definitely the risk appetite, which has just become a lot more than what it was in your time, 100%. And I say this from experience. I also have my parents. I can see the difference between the risk appetite between them and between me. So 100% that's also there.
But let me add one thing there to that, Lata. Just an addition. You are very right. There's no question mark. The risk appetite is, far higher than what it was 30, 40 years back. But then you have to understand 30, 40 years back, options were very limited. Just imagine when I did my medicine, I know that if you did not get into medicine or engineering way back in 80s, late 80s and all, or maybe a chartered accountancy, the scope for good employment or good incomes in other professions was mostly negligible. It's not the case today. If you are good at what you do, you could be a chef, you could be a chartered accountant, you could be an event manager, you could be anybody. You are good at what you do, you have opportunity. But this was not the way 30 years back. Maybe that risk aversion was to do with that, and capital was also much difficult to access that time. So that time you were talking about a time when if you put your money in the bank will give you 20% interest. If you have to take a loan, you have to pay 25% and then take it. So it's a total different time you're talking about. So in those times, taking a lot of risk was also not very advisable for a lot of people. But today the things are different. So you have to keep that also in the mind. So it's been a change in the culture as well as the way the economics work today as compared to what it's been 30 years back. That's my take again. This one.
No. Of course, that risk come. We are able to take risks because we've had a generation of our parents who set the basics for us, right? Which is why we have that luxury of taking risks. So I completely agree. I have to agree with that. Again, this is about you. What are your, milestones that you see in your personal lives going forward? What is the future that you see for yourself as well? Let's say 20, 30 years down the line. Do you want to retire and then spend the next time with family, give it them all? What are your, later on plans for life?
I'm not sure 10 years down the line, if I want to spend time with my son, he will be okay to spend time with father. That's a different story. So, yes. So I've not really thought this one, at least 6-7 years. I have a dream, as I said, of making this the pan-India chain where we are present across all the metros and all the districts across the country. Once that is done, I would like to take a back seat and spend time going around the world. That is there. I have almost 95 countries that I have in mind I want to visit. That's something I will do. And the second thing I want to do that time is basically, I think over the last couple of years, I've gained a little bit of experience of how to run company and all. I would like to share this with budding business guys, budding entrepreneurs, where I can guide them through the pitfalls, because generally when you are there in that optimistic phase, a couple of things generally people overlook. That's what I will be telling them. Okay, look at these things also. And this is how you build up your business. I want to mentor a lot of other healthcare companies in the same space. That's what I want to do later.
Wow. Understood. That's a great plan. Sounds great for life. And we hope you achieve everything that you want to and go on to help others as well. And on that sweet note, we will wrap up this interview. Thank you so much, Dr. Prashant, for joining this conversation. Very insightful. We'd love to have a round two of this conversation with you 100% whenever you can. But on that sweet note, we'll wrap up. Thank you so much and have a great day.